The Tomb is Black Ops 6 Zombies' second Zombies DLC map, but should you be excited for it? Are we overhyping this map? And what does this mean for the future of Black Ops 6 Zombies? All of these questions and more here on the 12th episode of the Mystery Box Podcast. Good morning, you beautiful people. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day today. Welcome to the 12th episode of the Mystery Box Podcast. I know some of you are thinking, donuts, I didn't even know you had a podcast. Well, I made a New Year's resolution to maintain this podcast and do at least one a month, so that's what we're doing. It's the end of January, and I'm gonna make a podcast. Plus, I very much like this formula. It's just stream of conscious, my honest thoughts here. So if you're going to work, if you're going to school, if you're camel grinding, doing chores around their house, whatever, just go ahead, turn on this podcast, and let's start talking about the Tomb. Now, you might be wondering, donuts, you donut, why are you talking about a map that's going to come out literally less than a day from now? And you're right, this podcast is probably going to be completely irrelevant in less than a day, but one of my favorite things about media or YouTube or just podcasts in general is going back, and especially like Zombros. I love going back and watching old Zombros episodes, the old zombie podcast, and hearing them talk in anticipation about the Black Ops 3 maps, the Infinite Warfare maps, the Black Ops 4 stuff going on, and knowing what we know now, knowing what maps released, how it released, and hearing what they have to say is fascinating to me. So for those of you coming in after the Tomb has released, I think this is going to be a very interesting podcast for you. And then hopefully I'll do a follow-up after the Tomb is released, talking about my actual thoughts on the map, and then seeing how they compare. So I think it's fascinating to me. So let's talk about the Tomb. I am really excited for the Tomb. Most of all, I'm really excited for the Dark Aether stuff, the Dark Aether area, and just the overall aesthetic of this map looks absolutely phenomenal. The Pack-a-Punch camo, the PPSH returning, the traps that this map has, and I love the aesthetics. I love the Dark Aether portals, all the different colors that it has. It's reminiscent of Modern Warfare Zombies a little bit. Not that that's a good thing, but I think it's a cool thing that it's interconnected. It's just yet another example of what I think they're knocking out of the park this year, and that is the aesthetics of these maps. I know it's really easy to get behind Terminus because just like driving around on the boat to this day makes me just awestruck of how beautiful the lighting is, the details. It just feels like you're on an island with the wet, cold water splashing over you. It's beautiful. I love the Citadel de Mort. I love the little village area, the green stuff or the green grass on one side, the city kind of village structure on the right side, and then the castle underneath, and the dungeons and the swords. It's a beautiful, beautiful map. And even Liberty Falls. At first, I was very, very nervous, and it's still not my favorite atmosphere. It's still not like among the top 10 or top 15 atmospheres we've ever had in Zombies or anything, but there's just something charming about it. You know, there's just something that when I'm training in Liberty Lanes on a bowling alley, and then I can go to a bank and then the church, like these are, I'm not gonna say iconic, but they're kind of iconic. You know, they're kind of just neat little vignettes of a modern town, you know, a town in the 90s. The comic book store is fun. I love the Aetherella trap. Like, it's got some sort of atmosphere that is very different than Warzone, and it's something that we haven't really had in Zombies before, so it has a charm to it. Now, I don't want any more maps like it because it doesn't really have that destructive Zombies overtone to it, but I think I appreciate Liberty Falls way more than I did before launch. That being said, I remember saying sometime, whether it was to some Discord chat or maybe it was a podcast or something, maybe it was even a video, I think it might have been a video where I was like, in the future DLCs, I'd rather all of them be more like Terminus than Liberty Falls, which is kind of where the Tomb comes into play, because in full transparency, Treyarch said this: we've crafted the Tomb to provide an experience similar to Liberty Falls, featuring tighter play spaces with a focus on replayability. So that tells me that it's going to be very similar of an experience to Liberty Falls, but it's going to be a little bit harder because the play spaces are tighter, and then replayability is just their buzzword for like side quests and stuff. So for as excited I am about this Dark Aether stuff, the Ice Staff, a brand new main quest, a brand new arena to fight in that's completely unique, I am trying my best to temper my expectations and to really look at these facts and try to, I guess, understand what this map's purpose is. And I think that's the right way of going about what is the purpose of this map. When they say this is going to be an experience like Liberty Falls, to me that means that we're probably not going to have any sort of power or pack-a-punch step or quest or anything like that with like what we have with Terminus and Citadel. It's probably just going to be opening doors, using our amulet to open up the door to the Dark Aether, and then boom, there's just the pack-a-punch right there. So very easy, very accessible. You just go into the map and then you have the pack-a-punch already there, accessible for you. I think the main quest is going to be very short. I think we're going to figure it out. I'm going to say in like 4 hours, at the most 4 hours. And unfortunately, again, just like Liberty Falls, I don't think we're getting a big boss at the end. I don't see a Patient 13 coming out of anywhere. I don't see the Guardian, the statue boss fight coming out of anywhere. I think this is going to be some sort of lockdown with the Electric Mimic, maybe an HVT Electric Mimic or something of the sorts. If it's a brand new boss with a brand new boss arena, just like Citadel was, my jaw will drop. And I think the path pattern of this DLC is going to be sort of similar to like what we had at launch. We have a complex maps in Terminus, simple map with Liberty Falls, complex map with Citadel, simple map with the Tomb, and then we'll get a complex map next, and then a simple map, and then another complex map. And I think that might be the DLC cycle for Black Ops 6, which honestly, I don't hate, so long as the complex maps are really complex and they have a lot of depth to their gameplay mechanics and everything. That would be pretty cool with me, especially if it meant more zombies content, which I definitely think we're getting more than 4 DLCs. I know that sounds weird as someone who just tried to say temper your expectations and be realistic, but it just feels weird to me that they would release 2 DLC maps in 2 months, and then if we only had 2 other DLC maps to release those over 9 months, I feel like that would be the worst reality. That would be the darkest timeline, but that's the sort of stuff that you could just spend hours and hours talking about with real no evidence or anything other than theory. So let's talk about the map specifics here, because we've got quite a bit to talk about. Just like Liberty Falls, it is reusing an old wonder weapon, curiously from Black Ops 2, I might add. We are getting the ice staff back. We don't know if there's a quest to get this, if it's just from the box, if there's some way of upgrading it. People said that we're using the upgraded stuff. There's in the trailer, they're like miming like they're gonna plant the staff, but we never see it actually plant anywhere. The ice staff was the strongest staff from Origins. It was the best staff from Origins, and it was the first wonder weapon, I guess maybe besides the Sliquifier, that was really possible. It made it possible to kill more than just one horde of zombies at a time. Before then, the strongest wonder weapon was like the Thunder Gun, or like I said, the Sliquifier, that was capable of killing an entire horde of 24 zombies. But with the Sliquifier, and really with the ice staff, if you planted that ice staff, if you shot that ice staff somewhere, the storm would be able to kill the whole horde of zombies and the zombies that respawned, which really changed the way high rounds are played. So I wonder if this might be the new high round meta for a little bit in Black Ops 6 Zombies. I don't know. It depends on how well it's going to do against the bosses, and I can't see it doing good at all against the bosses. I think it's going to go just as well as the jet gun is against the boss. I see this doing really well against zombies, not so well against boss zombies. And at first, when I saw the ice staff and all these reused things, I was and still pretty disappointed. Like, it's been so long since New Zombies. It's been like 5 years since Cold War, 4 or 5 years since Cold War. We've played so many hours of zombies before this. Like, I want something new. I've experienced the ice staff before. It's fun. I'm gonna have fun with it on the Tomb here. I don't think it's gonna be a bad experience, but I just wish it was a new experience. I wish you gave me something new and different and something unique that I've never played before, which goes exactly for the Mimic as well. We've had the Electric Mimic. The Electric Mimic was like the worst boss out of Modern Warfare Zombies. It was like the Electric Mimic and then the boss Disciple that you had to kill its minions in order to deal damage to the Disciple. Those were like the 2 worst bosses in Modern Warfare Zombies, in my opinion. Very tedious and frustrating to deal with. I don't think the Electric Mimic is going to be too bad here, but the fact that we have the Amalgam, the Mimic, and the Doppelgast all on this map really does concern me, and it also sort of confuses me because I don't necessarily hate the Mimic itself. I think the Mimic's fine, but in terms of purpose, I am a little confused because the purpose of the Mimic really overlaps with the purpose of the Amalgam and the purpose of the Doppelgast. The Doppelgast and the Amalgam are almost like the Mimic split into 2. You have the really fast and really agile melee attacks of the Doppelgast like the Mimic has, and then the Amalgam obviously has the grappling effect and the high damage bite that the Mimic has. So is this another step in the evolution? Is this an off branch of the evolution? And how are these things going to intertwine? Like, is the Mimic going to grab you, spit you out, and then immediately an Amalgam's going to be there to eat you and spit you out? Like, it feels like it's overlapping in purpose. Plus, as I just said, we've been playing with the Mimic since 2020. Like, we know how Mimics work. We've experienced them. This map with the Ice Staff, with the Mimic, with the other bosses from Black Ops 6 that are new to Black Ops 6, we've experienced them for the past 3 months too. So when I think this is a better way of framing it. When I'm playing zombies from the consumer standpoint, when I think about what map I want to play that day or what map I want to play just for fun, I think there's a set order of features, mechanics, aspects of the map that I go through really quickly in my head. First and foremost, it's the map layout and complexity. If I'm feeling something a little bit more in depth, I really want to sit down and really dive into a zombie map, I might play Terminus over Liberty Falls. If I'm just casual, I don't really know what I want to do, I might jump into Liberty Falls because it's a lot easier to get into. After that, map atmosphere, complexity, even the size of the map, like is it easy to train? Are there a lot of training spots? Is there not a lot of training spots? After that aspect, the next thing I think of is wonder weapons. Hey, I've got the jet gun, the beam smasher, the swords, and now I've got the ice staff. After that, that's when I start thinking about, okay, I have this wonder weapon on this map. What enemies do I have to face? Okay, on Liberty Falls, I have to go against the Mangler, which is okay, but the Abomination's really tough. So I might rather play Terminus because I think the Amalgams are a lot easier to deal with than the Abominations, or if I don't even want to deal with Manglers, I'll go to Citadel. Okay, cool, that sounds fun, and just deal with Doppelgast and Amalgams, which are, in my opinion, my two favorite bosses here in Black Ops 6. But now in the Tomb, I'm going to get a simpler zombies map, which is good, a little bit tighter, so it's a little bit more challenging, which I like. And then for the Wonder Weapon, okay, it's not a new Wonder Weapon, but then it's the same bosses again, so I could just play Citadel and I wouldn't have to deal with the Mimic, plus I would get new Wonder Weapons and new swords and new things to play with. So really the only thing this map, in my opinion, in my like little quick list of a checklist before I play a game, that has going for it is just a new layout and maybe more challenging aspects of that layout, and then the new Dark Aether area too. And then finally at the end of that is the main quest, and I really only do the main quest if I'm feeling it. If I know I want to do a main quest, I don't really spontaneously decide, hey, let's do the main quest. But who knows, I might, you might do that on Liberty Falls, you might be able to do that on the Tomb, I'm not sure. And then of course you've got side quests and little things in there that affect it as well. But I say that to kind of make my point of these reused Wonder Weapons and these reused bosses. If I were Treyarch, I would be very careful, because those are major pillars of zombie maps, especially because unfortunately the mechanics of Black Ops 6 Zombies are pretty universal from map to map. Not many maps have independent mechanics. I know Citadel has the incantations, but that's really about it in terms of map specific mechanics, which I am classifying differently than just side quests, because I think the side quests in Black Ops 6 are actually really fun, if you ask me. But looking at the core pillars of why players play zombie maps, this new map, the Tomb, doesn't really fulfill a lot of those core pillars like these other maps do already in Black Ops 6. What does this map have that is unique to this map that you cannot get, that you cannot experience on all of the other maps? I know this is a unique combination of things, of Wonder Weapons, bosses, and layout, so that is going to be interesting. And I should clarify here, I'm excited for the map. I know this is pretty negative right now. I think the map is going to play well. I think it's going to play fun, so long as there isn't a lot of boss spam or special enemy spam. But I do want to really hammer the point home that these reused bosses and reused Wonder Weapons really take away from my personal enjoyment of these maps. I am, and this is going to freak a lot of you beautiful people out, I am a huge Black Ops 4 Zombies fan. I think it's one of my favorite zombie games ever. When I am looking for a zombies game to play when it's not a huge zombie season, I go back to Black Ops 4 every time and I love it. It's got imperfections, yada yada yada, but one of the weakest maps of those maps, the worst maps of those maps, every single one of them is the Aether maps. The Aether maps are by far so much weaker than the Chaos maps, because the Chaos maps have these brand new enemies, these brand new locations, these brand new Wonder Weapons that we've never seen before, and it's awesome. And then you go and you play like Alpha Omega, and like, yeah, the Ray Gun Mark IIs are cool. The Nova Crawlers are there again, except worse. There's Jolting Jacks, which are kind of interesting, I guess. There's nothing drawing me to Tog Der Toten. There's nothing drawing me to Alpha Omega. Where's the thing that I cannot get anywhere else? You need to play this map in order to play it. That is what I am most worried about the Tomb for. That being said, that's exactly what I was worried about with Liberty Falls, and I enjoy Liberty Falls quite a bit. Like I said, it's not going to be on a top 10 list anywhere of my maps. It's still going to be pretty mid, but the jet gun is good to use, and it's good that we have a buffed version of it that does it justice. It's really fun to use. It's nice for the high round strategy. The Manglers are really well designed bosses. I do think they're fun to fight. Same thing with the Abominations. I think they're fun to fight. I just like the Amalgams better right now because the Amalgams are new. And when looking at the Tomb, it has been like 12 or 13, over a decade since we've seen the staff. I mean, I guess we technically got them like whatever, 10 years ago with Zombies Chronicles 2, or 9 years ago, whenever that was, maybe 8 years ago. Is it 2017? I think it was 2017. So like 8 years ago, we got the staffs in Black Ops 3, but it's been such a long time. And like Kino reused the Thunder Gun. I know that's a really bad example because that was like the, 5th ever Zombies map, but then Revelation reused the Thunder Gun again. And well, I mean, I guess, Black Ops 4 reused some old Wonder Weapons, and I just said that was probably the weakest part of Black Ops 4. But if this were Black Ops 3, if we were way back in time, 8 years ago, 2016, 2017, and one of the DLC maps, and they revealed that we would be using an ice staff, I think we would have lost our minds back then. I think it would have been so crazy. Well, we're getting the ice staff back. That's crazy. But now I think we as a community are a little bit more sensitive and a little bit more guarded when it comes to sort of fan servicey type things or nostalgic type things. But I think I'm going to give the pass to the ice staff. I think it's going to be a fun one to use. I think I'm going to have a stupid grin on my face using it. Hopefully, if it's strong enough, if it's good enough. But the mimics though, yeah, the mimics, I'll get you. I'm not very excited about those. And this is a great example of why I need to do this podcast more, because I can hear the comments already being like, Donuts, this is the most negative I've ever heard you. And I guess that's important to note here. I see a lot of comments talking about, oh, Donuts is so positive. How are you always so positive and stuff? And in my head, when you say something like, oh, you're positive or he's positive about this sort of thing, in my head, there's a little bit of intent behind that phrase positive. They're positive about something. It's almost like they're trying, like there's a little bit of that intent. Well, I'm trying to find the positive, sort of like the negative is true. Like, oh, you're just being negative. It's an attitude thing. You're just trying to be negative. And to me, I don't see myself as a positive person. I'm not trying to be positive. I'm just reacting to what I'm seeing. And I'll be honest, with a lot of Black Ops 6, I just like a lot of Black Ops 6. In all honesty, there's so much to like about Black Ops 6. There's not a lot of things I don't like about Black Ops 6. And so a lot of people see that like happiness and just turn it into, oh, he's being positive, which is a good thing. It's good to be positive and everything, but it's not like I'm sitting here trying to find the positives of all this stuff. But that being said, I am really excited for this map. This looks like it might be the most beautiful map we've had since like Ancient Evil or 9 or Dead of the Night, Revelations, whatever you want to say. I really hope we start seeing more out of these characters. I really hope we see the Sentinel artifact, and then the next big complex map we get, we're going to be able to activate it and go really far into, I don't know, the Library of Alexandria or something crazy like that. I'm just so excited to see all of the chaos connections, and more importantly, I am what is it when you're happy at, I don't know, I'm vengefully happy. We'll go with that. I'm vengefully happy seeing everybody happy with these chaos connections, because during the entirety and to this day, people will say that Black Ops 4, one of the reasons Black Ops 4 failed was because they tried to do two storylines at the same time. People think if they finished out the Aether storyline and then started the chaos storyline immediately after, people would be more receptive to it. However, that is not the case, in my opinion. That's my hypothesis. I don't think that would be, I think the best case scenario was doing exactly what they did and doing two storylines at the same time, because what happened was back in Black Ops 4, everybody was really excited, especially after Blood of the Dead. Everybody was really excited about the Aether storyline, and we had our introduction to the chaos storyline. Some people liked it, some people didn't like it because it wasn't Aether and this is boring and who are these characters? But now, because of that road work, because that road was paved, now in Black Ops 6, they can mention stuff from chaos, and we get excited now because we've had time to mold over and think about it and chew on it and go, hey, this was actually a really fun, cool storyline that I wish they continued. And now they have that foot in the door that says, hey, we can continue it. Whereas if Black Ops 4 didn't have chaos, they would need to be laying that groundwork now. Sure, the decision to split it up into two separate storylines and two separate maps, I guess, kind of hurt the reception in the moment. Like, people weren't happy with it in the moment, but the result of that is now people are already exposed to it and now are happy that it happened and happy that we're getting a continuation of it. So I guess, Jason Blundell, your plan worked. It worked out. You were right. People love chaos now. And also, Jason Blundell, you were wrong, because these are not two separate and distinct storylines anymore, which definitely was a decision that was made very recently. I think Black Ops 6 is doing a lot right in terms of tying up all of these loose ends from way back in during chaos to continuing the Cold War storyline, but also picking up these loose ends of the Modern Warfare Zombies universe and the Vanguard stuff. I kind of want a little bit more Vanguard lore here. I want to see these gods come back. I want to see us ally with these gods, and maybe that's what we're doing in the Tomb. I don't know. You might know because you might be watching this after the Tomb comes out, but I like how they're not shying away from any of the lore just because, oh my goodness, people didn't like Vanguard, so we can't put anything about Vanguard in here. Oh my goodness, they didn't like Modern Warfare Zombies, so we can't put anything about Modern Warfare Zombies in here. I love how they're bringing all of these things together and unifying everything into one universe. I think that's awesome, and they're doing it naturally. They're doing it well. I love it's just the subtle details of these doors, these teleporters to the Dark Aether being very similar in structure and behavior to the ones that we had in Modern Warfare Zombies. This might just be a happy coincidence, because my theory, which I totally believe to be true, is that when they were working on Modern Warfare Zombies, that's when they were creating the assets and building the Tomb map, because that timeline in my mind kind of lines up here. So they took the skybox from the Tomb, used it for the Dark Aether in Modern Warfare Zombies, and then they took the doorways, these little stone things with the circular structures, and they put that into Modern Warfare Zombies 2 to be consistent throughout the entire storyline, which I think is awesome. Also, if the skybox is consistent with the Tomb in Modern Warfare Zombies, does that mean the next season, like season 3 and season 4's Dark Aether, that sky, or season 5's Dark Aether with the planet in the sky, does that mean that's going to be in a future Zombies map? I don't know. Could be. Very interesting to see where this Dark Aether story goes. Plus, again, we have unanswered questions from the start of Modern Warfare Zombies, where we see like Weaver and Gray and everyone dead at the start of Modern Warfare Zombies. So what the heck's going to go on there? And then you have Dr. Jansen going into Liberty Falls, and then you have Sophia, well, not Sophia, you have Maxis and Richtofen going into the Dark Aether. Are we going to get, as a final DLC map, all of these entities and Richtofen in the Dark Ether and Sam in the Dark Ether. We're gonna have to work together and fight one of them. I don't know. It's interesting. I'm excited. I am also very excited for the return of Death Perception. That's right. I'm excited for it. I saw it on the blog post and I was like, oh, cool. They're bringing back Death Perception. I never would have guessed that. And then I recorded my video. I talked about all of the augments and ooh, this could be interesting. Ooh, that could change the way high rounds are doing whatever. And I posted the video and like everybody is trashing Death Perception. I think some people didn't play Cold War, so they're like, why are they bringing back this Black Ops 4 perk? You know, this is ridiculous. You know, this doesn't look like anything special. And I was like, what are they doing? What are they doing to my Death Perception? I love it. Now, that being said, Death Perception was good in Cold War because it got you more salvage, which was given to Vulture Aid. And I agree with people in that there's a lot of overlap between Death Perception and Vulture Aid. In fact, I'm not going to be able to find the video, but I remember back in Cold War, I was like, why did Death Perception come back? Why didn't they just make it Vulture Aid? Because they basically do the same thing. Like Vulture Aid could have the seeing through walls, it could be scavenging extra salvage, all this stuff. Like it makes way more sense for all those things to be in Vulture Aid. So when Vulture Aid came back in Black Ops 6, I was like, oh, well, there goes Death Perception. There's really no need to put it in there now. I thought we were going to get Tombstone for the tomb, or we were going to get Mule Kick, which I still think that are the two most likely perks that are coming back. I would be shocked. I would be so surprised if they brought back Double Tap because we have like 3 different ways to increase our weapons damage already. Why would we need a 4th? It just doesn't make sense design wise, but we'll see. I didn't think Death Perception was coming back either, so what do I know? Now, that being said, I do kind of want to defend Death Perception a little bit. I agree that it's probably not going to be the most game-changing perk, but there are a couple things that are so vague in the augment phrasing that it could be more impactful than what we think, which is, as I've found out, very true of a lot of augments in Black Ops 6, just like Shadow Rift. Treasure Hunter augment says that you can spot items others can miss from loot containers, as well as special and elite kills. If this is something super huge with like SAM trials and just special and elite kills, this could be really good for gaining and gaining progression really fast. The one I'm most excited for is or a couple of them, is the Death Stare. Your elemental weakness damage has a chance to kill an enemy that is low on health. This could very well just apply to specials and elites, but it could also apply to normal zombies. Because in Treasure Hunter, it specifies special and elite kills, but in Death Stare, it just says enemies. I could be reading too much into it, but I'm gonna keep an eye on Death Stare. And then Critical Eye has a small chance that a body shot becomes a critical shot, which is awesome. I'm gonna do some testing with that. Hopefully you can tell when it becomes a critical shot through the damage numbers, because that will make it really easy to test. I'll give it to you. The scan rate increase on the minimap is really not all that good because I play with the minimap off. The extra change that says find extra essence under more locations. Very curious about what that means. If that really is just like proning in front of the arsenal station as well, that's going to be pretty weak. Like a couple hundred extra points, like a match, like I don't know about that. And then the increase in perception radius, we'll see how good the perception radius is by default. So we'll see. Now that sounds pretty underwhelming, except for the like major augments. Those major augments sound pretty cool, but I will remind you that there are other perks in the game. Like in my opinion, Speed Cola really doesn't have all that many interesting augments. Like Speed Cola is like, do you want to reload even faster, or do you want your field upgrade to charge even faster? Like it's not really that exciting. Switch weapons faster, use the mystery box faster. Nobody uses the mystery box. Like I think this is going to be a better perk than Speed Cola, other than the whole armor plating faster and the reloading faster. I think there's going to be some more versatility in this perk than something like a Speed Cola or even like a Stamina Up. Stamina Up doesn't have that many interesting augments either. So I know a lot of people are hating on this, but when you do like a tier list, if you want to see me do a tier list, let me know. I feel like this is going to be another like C tier perk or B tier perk, maybe depending on where you rank every other perk. It's not going to be like a Vulture Aid or a Dead Shot or a Jug or anything like that, but it's going to be usable. But what we're all really excited for are the brand new Gobblegums, because they sound crazy. I mean, obviously Cracknarok using duck floaties with zombies is just going to be really funny, but I'm so excited to test out how much extra salvage we get from Dead Drop. Does it pair with Vulture Aid, Suppressor? Does it stack with the SAM trials? That could be really interesting. And Modified Chaos, it sounds so cool. I'm so ready for that. Reducing all of the cooldowns on all of your ammo mods for 2 minutes. That sounds like that Terminus side quest with the fish, so you can get a greatly reduced ammo mod cooldown with that. It just sounds like it's gonna be so fun. I might have to spend money on buying those Gobblegums if they're really all that powerful, because man, oh man, those two things fit so well. They fit so well with the Black Ops 6 Zombie sandbox. The old Gobblegums, the like max ammos and even the perkaholics and the double points and all this stuff with the old Gobblegums, it really doesn't feel as impactful because you're going to get all of the perks anyway. having a perkaholic be so rare just doesn't feel that great. It doesn't feel like it felt in Black Ops 3 where you like broke the game with all the different perks, where it was like, oh man, they never intended for you to have all the perks back then. But I guess that's neither here nor there because, you know, gobblegums are gobblegums. But honestly, I'm kind of okay with gobblegums not being incredibly overpowered. It makes them more optional and I like collecting them anyway. Now I am also interested to see how the War Machine does. I think it costing 2,500 salvage is a big mistake. I think it should sit alongside the hand cannon at like 1,500 points or 1,250 points or something like that, because if I'm not mistaken, the mutant injection and the chopper gunner are also 2,500 salvage, and those things are like the meta when it comes to high rounds. So unless this War Machine like totally destroys bosses and all this stuff, I don't see anybody really picking this over the mutant injection or the chopper gunner. Speaking of high rounds and of the sorts, I forgot to talk about the traps on the tomb, the arrow trap and the ethereal or the etheric lanterns. I gotta say, I am loving the map unique traps. I love how they are really trying to make these maps more unique to one another. Like I said earlier, it is so important to do, especially with zombies. These give the map such personality. I'm excited to use these traps. It looks like they're in more frequently used areas, which is awesome. And I do wish there were even more things that were unique to these maps. I know that's what a lot of us, especially from the hardcore zombies and the old zombies community, say. We want more map unique stuff. We want more things that differentiate the map. We want map unique mechanics. And after thinking about it for way too long, I think I might understand why Treyarch hasn't been doing that lately. Back in the day of Black Ops 3, Black Ops 4, Black Ops 2, Black Ops 1, every single map was different. Every single map was a unique experience. It had different bosses on it. It had different traps. It had different wonder weapons. It had different mechanics on it. You had the dig sites from Origins. You had Afterlife in Mob of the Dead or Beast Mode from Shadows of Evil. You had the plant mechanics. You had all these different side quests on Gorod Krovi. And that was one of the main reasons that I believe a lot of other people really fell in love with zombies, because each and every single zombies map was different from one another. Zetsubo no Shima is nothing like Der Eisendrache, which is nothing like Shadows of Evil, which is nothing like The Giant, which is nothing like Gorod Krovi, which is nothing like Revelations. All of those maps are completely unique. They have different experiences. They have different difficulty levels. They have different everything. And those differences drove people to playing those maps. If you wanted to fight in this swamp island place, you would play Zetsubo. If you wanted to fight in a castle with these bows, then you would play Der Eisendrache. If you wanted to play in a nostalgic, amazing letter of love to the zombies community, you would play Revelations with the most powerful wonder weapons that they ever made at the time. However, after, again, thinking about it for far too long, I think that might be exactly why they don't do it anymore. If something is powerful enough and fun enough and good enough that it can drive you to playing a map, then that runs the risk of something being so bad and worse that it drives people away from playing the map. Hence, you look at Transit, Die Rise, maybe 5 is in there as well. Zetsubo's definitely in there for a lot of people. Dead of the Night, Alpha Omega, there are those map unique things that drive people away from playing them. And so I think Treyarch is basically playing it safe. I think they are setting up the core gameplay mechanics to be interchangeable across all of these maps so that players are assured that they're going to have a fun experience on every single map. I hope that makes sense. And this is not a bad thing. This isn't like a, hey, we're going to take your toys away from you because we don't want you to have fun. It's actually quite the opposite. During Zetsubo no Shima, I'll say it every single day, people thought it was worse than Transit. People thought Zombies was dead. This is the height of Black Ops 3, the best zombie game ever, right? Wrong. People were so upset. They hated it. They didn't like it. They thought this is garbage. Who likes thrashers? Who likes spiders? This wonder weapon sucks. Like, why would anybody want to play Zetsubo? Just don't play Zetsubo. They want to avoid that reaction. They want to kind of soften the blow. They want to make every map at least have some basic gameplay that people know and like. And the basic gameplay of triple pack-a-punch and ranking up your weapons and getting armor and training and getting the wonder weapon on the map, that is the same across all of the experience of Black Ops 6. And a lot of us hardcore or old zombie players kind of take that as a negative of, oh, it kind of all plays the same on all the maps. But that's actually a good thing for, I imagine, quite a lot of people, because if I play The Giant, if I played zombies, like take a look back in the day, I have the perfect example. If you're somebody who loves zombies so much, you played Doris all the time, you played Kino, you played Black Ops 1, and then you get to Transit, or if you skip Black Ops 2, then you get to like Shadows of Evil or Mob of the Dead, you're like, hey, where's my zombies mode? It's completely different. I have to do this beast mode. I have to go into Afterlife. Like, this isn't the game that I'm used to playing. This sucks. And then you stop playing. Now, us hardcore zombie fans know that, oh, well, that's just the map. map. You just might not like the map, go play another map. But I paid for this DLC. I want to play every single map. I want all of the maps to be enjoyable. I want to like all the different maps without having to learn a different game every map. And I think that might be a better way of saying it. Every map was almost like its own different game. And you're thinking, yes, that's why I liked it. Exactly. That's why I like it too. But that's also why some people don't like it. I remember when I first got into zombies and really zombies on YouTube, I remember making my Zombies 101 a tutorial series. And I made that because so many people were saying, oh my goodness, Black Ops 3 is so hard. And of course you hear the complaint, I don't want to do an Easter egg just to turn on power because I played Shadows of Evil or Mob of the Dead or whatever. And boom, you have to complete an Easter egg in order to turn on power. But I, as a newer zombie player, was like, no, I get it now. My eyes been opened. It's actually really fun. All you got to do is this. All you got to do is that. But that was the big controversy back in Black Ops 3. And again in Black Ops 4, where the Easter eggs were even more complicated. However, Power and Pack-a-Punch were a little bit easier if you ask me. But still, Black Ops 4 has that sentiment from the casual audience, from the more novice players, I guess, of just like, well, I don't want to have to complete an Easter egg in order to turn on power. So now in Cold War and Black Ops 6, they're actually listening to those fans of zombies and saying, okay, we're going to make Power and Pack-a-Punch really easy. And then after that, we're going to start increasing the difficulty and the puzzle solving aspects and the Easter egg aspects of that. And I think that might be why they're afraid of doing another beast mode type thing, because the game that we're used to playing for all these months, you introduce a map like Mob of the Dead or Shadows of Evil, and people are thrown off like, what? This is not the game that I'm used to playing. It's not a negative thing. It's not a bad thing. It's not a good thing. It's not a positive thing. It's just a different design principle. Obviously, if you like that more complexity, if you like solving Easter eggs in order to turn on power like a bunch of us do, it's a good thing. It's a fun thing. I love Dead of the Night. I love Ancient Evil. I love Shadows of Evil. But I also do remember, and I urge you to remember back when you were first learning how to play zombies. I remember, and I recently did this in my 115-day special, talking about once I learned the basics of zombies, all I wanted to do was kill zombies. I wanted to train zombies and get to the highest round possible. And then after Die Rise, you know what map came out? Mob of the Dead, one of the best zombie maps of all time. Well, I got introduced to Mob of the Dead right after learning on Die Rise, right after learning the zombie basics. And I was like, cool, where's Jug? Oh, you've got to do all of these different things. You've got to jump through all of these different hoops. You got to find a key. You got to go through this wall. You got to die. You got to go into this different mode. You've got to find the spoon. You've got like, what are we doing? I just want to kill zombies. And that sentiment, I think, is a lot louder and a lot more bigger than a lot of hardcore zombie players realize. And it is unfortunate. I do think I think there's some merit to those Easter egg heavy map unique challenges or mechanics. I miss that in zombies, and I do want to see that return. And so hopefully with the addition of perhaps more simpler maps like the Tomb and Liberty Falls, maybe towards the end of the DLC season when we're already excited for the next game, maybe that's when DLC 4, DLC 5, you can really change up the gameplay. Okay, you've all gotten used to Liberty Falls, you've all gotten used to the Tomb and Terminus and all this stuff. Now we're going to introduce Beast Mode back, or Dark Ether Mode, or whatever random mechanic they do on the very last map. But I was just thinking about that the other day, about complexity and why they wouldn't want to do map unique stuff, and that kind of struck to me as there might be some validity there. Again, I'm not saying I want simplistic maps. I'm the opposite. I love the Black Ops 4 maps. I love the Black Ops 3 maps. I love the complexity. Zetsubou no Shima is one of my favorite zombie maps of all time, as weird as that is to say. I utterly hate the icons that walk you through the power quest, especially on Liberty Falls, man. Liberty Falls is just like open doors and go to Pack-a-Punch. Why do you need a walkthrough for that? Like, this is so silly to me. But also, I have a lot of comments and I have a lot of subscribers, and there are people out there, believe it or not, who struggle with the most basic thing. Not to call anybody out, but on Discord, like right before Black Ops 6 launched, when it was starting to get teased, I had somebody on Discord going, Duns, I don't like round-based. Remember, I started with Modern Warfare Zombies. That's where I got really, really big. And so I had a huge Modern Warfare Zombies following. And a lot of them were like, I don't like round-based. It's so complicated. And this one person was like, I don't even know how to turn on Pack-a-Punch on Doris. I can't even open Pack-a-Punch on the Giant. And we were like, you've got to be kidding me. You don't know how to Pack-a-Punch on the Giant? Yeah, I never figured it out. And we were all stunned. We were all like, what? Like, it's the power switch there, and then you got the huge teleporters that the map is pointing to all the time. Nope, never could figure it out. And I imagine that's a lot more people than we would like to think. I myself didn't know you could open doors when I first played Black Ops 1 Zombies with my friend. We just thought, oh, it's just these tiny little maps, like a Spec Ops type mission where it's just survive in this tiny little map, because that's what Noct was. So we were like, okay, cool, we'll just survive in this tiny little area. And then I saw like a YouTube video that you could open up doors, and I was like, oh, what? And my mind was blown. And that's where my love for zombies sort of started, because, oh, there's this thing that I never knew about this thing that I play, and that sort of zombie mystery and the Easter egg kind of started evolving from there. Oh, this thing I have, there's actually so much more to it. There's a storyline, there's this Easter egg you can do. There's these radios, and I love that depth and complexity. Unfortunately, not a lot of people are willing to give it the time, or willing to give it the space, or willing to look up YouTube videos and to do all those things. So I see Black Ops 6 really trying to appeal to both players, and it's crazy to me that still less than 10% of zombie players have ever done an Easter egg, even with directed mode. And so I don't fault Treyarch at all for trying to get more players into the zombie game mode, so long as they still keep in mind the hardcore players and the players who have been playing for years. And when you look at Cold War to Black Ops 6, it's good news. If you ask me, it's good news, because during Cold War, we were asking for more challenge, more difficulty, more map uniqueness, more map atmosphere specifically, and Black Ops 6 has been coming through with that with flying colors. Like, they've been doing so good with the map uniqueness in terms of atmosphere and these traps and these zombie models for the tomb. It looks beautiful. And I hope in the coming maps, in the coming games, that they take it a step further and go even more depth on the Easter eggs, even more depth on the side quest, and even side mechanics and little bonus things like specialists. I was thinking about it the other day. They could just straight up bring back specialists from Black Ops 3. Do a little Easter egg, get the Gauntlet of Siegfried, and then in the pause menu, you could just switch between your field upgrades in the pause menu. I do have a little bit of faith that they are going to continue this direction, and I think the tomb is a great example of that. But I do also think it is important for us to recognize that Zombies has always been kind of a weird game mode. If you think about it, every single Zombies game has gotten easier. When you look at World at War to Black Ops 1 is a little bit less buggy. Black Ops 2, you have a little bit more stuff like double pack-a-punch, perma perks, more perks, better wonder weapons. In Black Ops 3, you have alternate ammo types, you have the 3-hit down, you got gobblegums. Black Ops 4, you got specialists and 4-hit down and equipment that actually works. Cold War is easier in so many ways, and Black Ops 6 really is the first round-based zombies game that's been a little bit more challenging than the previous, right? Because I think Black Ops 6 Zombies is definitely a fair amount harder than Cold War. So I think we're zoning in on the difficulty, and I actually saw a Reddit post talking about how, over the years, they thought that they would get better with their skill in zombies, but after Cold War and Black Ops 6, their skills actually gone down in zombies because it's such an easier experience compared to the older games. I think they were saying something like, oh, I can consistently get to like round 30 and 40 in Black Ops 6, but then I went back to like Black Ops 3 or Black Ops 2 and I died on round 10 or 12 or 20 or something like that. And I think the summary of that comment section, the consensus they came to was that, yeah, Black Ops 6, Cold War, they're too easy. They make you a worse zombies player and it's not good. But I kind of read that in a little bit of a different way, because if you have somebody who's clearly hardcore enough to be playing all the zombies games and to be good enough to get to round 30 and 40 on Black Ops 6, and you go back, and even you who was experienced with those older zombie games go down on round 10 or 15 or 20 or whatever, imagine how a brand new zombie player is. Imagine how much more punishing it is for somebody who doesn't even know how to train or move around or something like that. Now, I always say that if it's a skill issue, it's good because it means you can get better. But in terms of the severity of the skill issue, in terms of the severity of how much better you have to be before you start enjoying the game, that's where the game designers come into play. That's where I don't know exactly where the happy medium is. Because with my own experience, I stopped playing Black Ops 2 in Mob of the Dead because the challenge was too high for me. The investment was too great for the reward that I would get of just playing zombies. And that's the kind of thing that game developers see that we might not necessarily see. And it's something that I don't think a lot of us are happy with. I do, like I said, I go back and I play Black Ops 3 and Black Ops 4 zombies more than I went back and I played Cold War, because Cold War is just like, I mean, I did it with my 115 day special. I was playing Cold War and I was like, I don't know what map to play and I don't know what I want to do because everything feels done. I feel like I can do all the Easter eggs. I feel like I can go to around 100 on all the maps really easily, and there's just no challenge left. Whereas with Black Ops 4, Black Ops 3, there is still that challenge there. There's always a challenge present there, and I like that for replayability purposes. And I hope that Black Ops 6 actually does fulfill that challenge. I think it's done a brilliant job with its challenge being the base gameplay is a fair amount more difficult or less forgiving than Cold War, but then the real challenge of Black Ops 6 is in its boss fight and Easter eggs, and I really like that. I feel like that's a great place to put it. And I would absolutely love to talk about high rounds in all of these different games, but that would take a whole other podcast because boy oh boy do I have thoughts. But to bring everything back to Black Ops 6, they have said they want to make this the most accessible zombies game ever, and I think they're making strides in doing so. I think Black Ops 4 did it pretty well, even though it tended to be more towards the hardcore audience. I think Black Ops 6 is doing it very successfully while leaning towards more the casual audience, but still having enough there for the hardcore players to enjoy, even though I do want to see a little bit more. That being said, depending on the future DLC, I kind of like this idea of releasing simpler zombie maps alongside more complex maps. I forget if I talked about it at the beginning of this podcast, but the fact fact that they've released 2 maps and it's not even February yet, and if it was a normal DLC cycle, we would get 4 DLC maps, does that mean we're going to get 2 DLC maps for the rest of the year? That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So my theory is that we are going to be getting more DLC maps, and if that's the case, if say we got 4 DLC maps that were more complex, that would fulfill the kind of traditional Zombies DLC season. But then if we got like 2 regular kind of Liberty Falls-esque maps, that would mean at the end of the life cycle, we would have like 3 simpler maps and like 5, maybe 4 or 5 more complex maps. And I think that's a win for everybody, especially if they alternate it. Like Citadel's complex, the Tomb is simple. The next map is going to be complex, the next map is going to be simple, and the last map is the most complex map ever. There's your 5 DLC maps, 2 on launch, 7 maps total, and here comes Black Ops 2 Remastered or Zombies Chronicles 2 or whatever we might get at the end of this year or whatever. I feel like that would make a lot of people happy, because instead of, you know, like back in the day being like, oh, well, you like Black Ops 3, you could just stick to the Giant, you know, all the other maps are more complicated, but you have the Giant. Instead, now we have 3 different, or, you know, at least 2 different smaller maps that we can point to and go, hey, if you're looking to just kill zombies, play these 2 maps. They're really fun, they're really quick, they're really easy. And I love how these maps have Easter eggs. I love how they have unique traps and unique atmospheres. I've never ever wanted survival maps. That was my controversy back in the day. And survival maps in terms of like broken down pieces of larger maps, I always viewed survival maps as like the big map with less features and less content, which I always thought was a loss. So having bigger, smaller maps, having small maps completely unique in design, maybe of course reusing bosses, reusing wonder weapons, whatever, but its own unique Easter egg and stuff to get zombie players going into like their foot in the door or their first experience in zombies, I think I can get behind that. So long as, like I said, they also have the Citadels and the Terminuses and these other complex maps for those new players to go to and learn and grow. Because as I learned with Cold War, and hopefully everybody learned with Cold War, even though Cold War was really fun and it was really cool to get new people in, it really didn't leave much for players to train and practice and get better. Whereas like the Easter eggs in Black Ops 4, you could do them all day, every day and still practice and get better and get faster and use better weapons and stuff and have it still be a challenge. And I could see them making strides to appease everybody, and I really hope that's the case here with the Tomb. So what do you guys think? How did I do? How is the Tomb? If you're from the future, how is the Tomb for you? I'm excited. I hope you are too. And if you're curious about more of these amazing, delicious podcasts, then I can point you to my previous one right here. And as always, stay beautiful.